thank you.
Okay, so just go back and look at it because I want you to know the answers. You
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
miss
I
that.
will.
You didn't miss that many, but
No, I will. Thank you. And then, yeah, I'll for sure. I'll see you next semester. I have you, so
okay.
won't be too long.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
All right, see you later, Michael. Okay, so we'll get started. So I'll put the final on the screen, yeah?
I just signed up for the class next semester, Rodney, or Patrick, not Rodney.
Who said that?
I did. Dylan did. I just signed up for it
Oh, you did?
for the second time, I believe.
Okay.
I'm not
So
paying for it this time.
So everybody else who's here, oh, Zach, are you taking 122 next semester?
Is that green building?
Yeah.
I don't think I can swing that many units.
Okay. All right. And then is Eric here? I can't see my shared screens in the way.
Zach, you think it's going to be too heavy or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, 3 construction classes jumps up to 13.7. I don't want to do full-time work and full-time school.
Ah, okay.
10.7 is a bit anyway.
Well, you should sign up for it just in case Rodney's class doesn't go. Because there's only 8
If he
people.
doesn't go, I'll let you in. I'll let you in late. It's okay.
Only 9
Sweet.
people in that class.
That's a good point. It's a
what's
good point,
the-
Louis. I'll let him come in late. And Alec, are you taking 122?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take green building and 111 next semester.
Okay, so, okay. And Miguel, are you here? No. Jesus, are you taking it? Are you signed up already?
Yeah, I think I signed up for it.
Okay. That's right.
Again, because I thought I signed up for it too. Guess not.
Okay. Who
What
said
class
that?
is Rodney teaching next semester?
What's Rodney teaching?
114.
Yeah,
114?
is that intermediate?
No, it's the
Or
beginning
beginner.
one. Yeah,
Okay.
well, they're different. You know, we didn't know what to name them, so we named them those, but this is base and case and, you know, trim except for, yeah, all kinds of trim.
Mhm.
So I think this class is more important than 115, but, you know, for carpenter,
What is 115?
that's cabinet making.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that's a good class, but if I had to advise someone to take one of them, I would do that one, the first one, because it's more applicable to a typical carpenter. But I mean, if you can take them both, that's even better. All right. So so is everybody ready? This won't take long, and then we can say our goodbyes and weep and moan and tear our hair out. Okay. So can everybody see this screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So I was pretty, well, I wouldn't say lenient because that's not the right word, but I wasn't a stickler, but I put down in the comments stickler-like comments, but I didn't take the points off. So U-factor, just to be on the correct side, U-factor is not really a measure of resistance because that's R value, and U-factor is the inverse of R value. So it actually measures how much heat is going through the window, and that you know, you can turn that into resistance by just flipping it over. So technically it's thermal transistance and not resistance to it. Okay, everybody got that? You know, the value, it doesn't matter. It's the same proportionate value. So, you know, you want the U value to be low and the R value to be high, but technically it's a measurement of transmittance. Most of you got this formula So the thing is, for those of you who are rusty on your algebra, is you just put a value in for an equation that's got variables. So we're looking for R, so that's our answer. We've got one variable, which is U factor, and we give it here. So you just put 1 over 0.5, or like here, and then we get 2. Same thing with what does number 3, what does the solar heat gain coefficient? So it's heat, right? It says heat right in the name. So it doesn't just measure how much light comes through, right? It measures the light that carries heat, which is the infrared. So it's not a measurement of all the light, it's a measurement of the infrared light that's coming through. So these are just little technicalities. This is science, so it's going to take a while to get it right. Number 4, visible transmittance measures how much visible light is emitted. Yeah, transmittant just means it transmits through the window. This one, the answers got jumbled in the bottom. And so one student said that messed him up, and I gave him credit. So if any of the rest of you, that was the reason why you got this wrong. Well, I think most people got it right anyway. But X-rays was the wrong answer. But if you just automatically went down to the third choice, because that's the third answer, and put there, the computer would mark it wrong because it was really C, even though it was in the wrong place. So let me know. This one, I think only 1 or 2 misses in that, and probably because, it's true and false. Like, I hate these. Triple pane, which means those are more, have more R value. And so if they have a higher R value, they're going to have a lower U factor because it's the inverse, remember? And I think just some of you know that, but you just put the wrong answer. You do need an egress window for bedrooms that don't have doors. This one, I think everyone got right, even though I hated it after I made it. I wanted to say that there's a minimum specification for an egress window, and I wanted to make it false, so I put a smaller than minimum. So it didn't trip up too many people. I didn't mean to. So it obviously nobody could get through a 12 by 12 window, so that's not going to be right. And same thing with safety glass. I wanted to say something about the glass in a doorway. Actually, all doorway glass. There may be a minimum, like if it's smaller than 6 inches, you don't need it. But it obviously the minimum width is smaller than 3 feet, because who has 3 foot glass in a door? That would make you have a 3'6" door, which is kind of unusual for a front door. Not impossible, but unusual. 10. Everybody got this for whatever reasons. Some have E glass. Some are on the non-sun side of the house. Some have awning. That was a great answer. I didn't expect that, but that's right. And you shouldn't put storm windows on a window because you're trying to get out of it, and storm windows unscrew from the outside usually. I mean, you could kick it out, but you shouldn't have it there to get in your way. And see, everybody got this. The safety glass breaks in smaller pieces, so you don't have as much life-threatening material there. 13, which of the following does sustainable landscape perform in all of those? Hey, speaking of create wildlife habitat, I live at Winchester Canyon. Everybody know where that is? Past Costco, if you're coming from town, sort of at the end of town, Goleta. And there's this website that's a neighborhood website. Anybody ever seen those kind of things? That's a no.
No.
But I rarely look at it, but this one had I caught it, it registers as an email, so I usually just go by it, but it said, cat seen in camera, night camera, son says it's a bobcat. So I looked at it. This is a residential neighborhood, suburban, but nevertheless residential. And I looked at the picture. It was a film from the night camera, a security camera, and it was no bobcat. It was a puma. It's funny they can't see the difference. There's a huge difference if you see a puma running away from a camera. It don't look anything like a bobcat. So a couple of blocks from my house, the pumas are invading. That's a good sign, right? Well, it's a good and bad sign. It's a good sign they're still around. It's a bad sign they're coming here for some reason.
Was this on next door, Patrick, or which...
Yes, it's like a next door.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty wild. And I have friends, and I used to live in Ojai, and I have friends that live out in the boonies in Ojai, and they see pumas and bobcats all the time. But if they're coming down, they're either probably hungry or thirsty. And so I don't know what we can do about that. 14 awnings and sunscreens are good exterior shading for windows. That's true. This one, I'm surprised people missed this, quite a few, but maybe you didn't read the whole sentence. What kind of tree is best to shade a house in summer, but not in winter? I should have bolded that. I usually bold the things that I think you'll miss. I forgot. So you can't have evergreen, because evergreen's like it name says, it has evergreen leaves all year round. So it will shade the house in the winter, which is not what you want. You want to let the sun through the tree into your windows. So it should have been deciduous. Exterior windows do add an extra pane to windows, and they do beef up the R value ever so slightly. Gap at the bottom of the door is usually the door's biggest leak. It's true. Loose fitting locks on double hung windows should be repaired or replaced, because you can leak a lot through there. They have a little, you guys have seen those little locks, and they put a little pressure on it, and that forces the window against the weather stripping. Otherwise, it leaks a lot through there. They used to be pretty crappy. Double hung windows, which we're talking about, used to be pretty crappy quality in terms of leakage, because we didn't pay any attention to it. And then when we started realizing that windows needed to be tighter, the industry came to bat, and they make really nice double hung now. So there's really no window that's not energy efficient now of the new windows. You ever see those, what are those called? Jalousie, the kind they have in Hawaii? They're 3 by 2 foot piece of glass, a bunch of them, and you turn this thing and it's like a louver. You guys ever seen those?
You mean where they're like slats?
Yeah, they're usually glass, and there's a bunch of glass slats.
Yeah.
I think they call them jalousie windows, but every time you see a real estate show about Hawaii, all the windows there that used to be that way. And actually Southern Cal, I think I had, where I grew up, I think there were some. But those are incredibly leaky. So in the old days, we didn't worry about it, and they were kind of fun, but capillary action can pull in any direction. That's why it's easy to overlook. Okay, this one I was a lot of you said the same thing in different words over and over. So I gave you mostly credit, but it prevents heat from going out of the house. That's definitely one thing. That's really why they were created, to make your wall have a little more R value. They also, because of that E coating they put on, that metallic Fleck, they block UV, which is the second thing they do. And they also keep sun from coming in. So that's a third thing. And I don't know what else there is. So those are the main three. Anybody think of another one? But one of the things they do that's not intended because you want this is that's what it was. The fourth thing is they lessen the visible light. So they make the view a little bit darker, whether it's blue or green or brown, depending on what they use. So that's something they do to windows too, those four things. So that's mainly it. Excessive moisture in a crawl space can be a problem. Everybody got that. Rain gardens and pervious ground can help rainwater. Got that. There is such a thing as pervious concrete. Everybody got that. Rain gutters, everybody got that. Most people put gutters and tanks, but which are main things. So drainage plane, remember when we talked about it, I said it was a crappy word phrase. And I guess I'm not teaching it right because it confused, everybody was a little bit confused. But it's not just me. I'll give part credit, but I also have to give credit to whoever came up with that word. So I bet it's an architect because they love the word plane. Coplanar comes from architects too. And I like coplanar. So does anybody know what the word coplanar means? CO, I think it's still hyphenated planar.
Means existing in the same plane.
Yeah, it's a continuation of the same plane. So, you know, that's a really good term because then you can say something's coplanar or not. If it jogs a little bit, the plane changes, and you might want to point that out. That's important because some things jog just a little bit. And so you can say it's just barely coplanar, but that's a useful term. But drainage plane is more confusing. A plane means it's just a surface. And I think everybody sort of realized that. It's a surface that drains. But, you know, if someone said a drainage plane is the surface that drains, they would say, oh, you mean like stucco or siding, because that's the thing the rain hits, right? But we're really talking about everything in that plane. So it's no longer a plane, it's got thickness now. But that's the actual exterior material, whether it's stucco or siding, then everything between that and the wall, which these days is sheathing, Tyvek, maybe insulation. So then that plane becomes a little more problematic. So, so this is a lot of you use the word interface. So that was a good definition. So, but that's what that was. And then they have rain screen, which is actually a type of drainage plane. And that the best practice is, some of you just put Tyvek, and it's a little more than that now. The current best practice is Tyvek. Tyvek's the current best practice, whatever you do in any direction. But then now they want to leave that space between the Tyvek and the siding. They had some problems with Tyvek and siding. I can't remember what it was, where they reacted. So there were a lot of reasons that they weren't happy with Tyvek and siding touching each other. But, you know, your exterior can get, especially siding, can get damaged and you don't know about it, don't notice it. Usually for water to come in, it takes a little bit of puddling, right? Otherwise, you know, a few drops isn't going to hurt anything. But say you had a window in the siding and the top flashing on that window was not good, and you had a horizontal surface of that window trim that was catching water, and the water was just going down behind it. So that would be a case where you really compromised your outside and you're letting a lot of water in. So, but then that's a different area because window has its own flashings to deal with that. But if for some reason the water got past that siding, this thing's a good idea, and I guess water does, because otherwise they wouldn't have invented this and be touting it as the best practice now. Anyway, it adds a little more money to your house. You have to, rip the plywood, put it on, lay it out, put it on. It goes around windows, so the layout can be complicated. Then, like some of you said, it has to have that little screening top and bottom, because you have to have it open to let the air out, and the air in, so it'll flush behind there. But you don't want insects coming up in that 1/4-inch gap that the furring strips create. So you have to put some kind of little mesh on the bottom and top to keep insects out. So all that adds up, but better than being called back for, a wet walls. Okay, we talked about that adjustable sweep. Everybody got that. Everybody got this. If the foam is too expanding, it'll bow the frame. Everybody got this, and we didn't talk about this, I don't think. So I was kind of glad everybody did. Yeah, I think everybody got this too. These are all the things and this is not just BPI. These are all things that are becoming, the fire, people are always paranoid of fire situations. So spillage and draft has become, has always been important. And now we're testing for it. Carbon monoxide has always been important because it kills. We're testing for that. So the gist of this is that building performance people, not just the institute, but people that are dealing with building performance are including safety in that, not just energy efficiency, but also safety, which is great. Because while you're there looking at stuff, you might as well look at the safety and make sure the house is not going to kill someone. This is true. I said Rocky Mountains because in our green building book, which we'll have next semester, has pictures of houses in Rocky Mountains, and they talk about it because they have too many south-facing windows. There's so many great views up in the Rockies. People just load up the south side with, any side that's got the view with windows, and if it's the south side, that's all that heat in. And if there's no thermal mass inside, like concrete or the walls having a little bit of thick mass, couple layers of sheetrock, but they don't normally do that because that costs money. So they usually have one sheet. Then that heat has nowhere to absorb, so it just stays in the air and becomes overheat. It becomes, a pain in the ass. Yeah, argon and gas do a bunch of things. I didn't want to get into it, but what they don't do, and I didn't take it off, whoever said it, but what they don't do is stop heat from coming in. I don't think they do add insulation value because they stop heat going out, and it depends on the heat. Sometimes coming in and going out are the same, but what's your heat? What is all your heat coming into a window? What kind of light? What kind of it's light energy, right? And the heat going out is not light energy. It's either heated air from heat from inside your house. It could be radiation. If you had a stove nearby, a window, stoves radiate heat. But anyway, they do add to the R value. That was the question. 33. So this was the same thing as that one before. The answers got in the wrong order. I really tried to fix that when I saw it, and I thought I did fix it. On mine, it showed it fixed, but apparently it didn't stay. So I don't think not too many missed that. And it's not a very good answer. So I would have had to explain it if someone had missed it. 34. I've already been hassled about this, people getting half credit because they didn't put required by law. But if someone's grade had made a difference with that, I would have given them credit, but I don't think this 1 point affected anybody's grade. But I wanted you to remember it's required by law. That's actually an important point, because the law requires windows with that information. And they come and look at stickers. If you don't have them, they'll if you don't have any of them, if one came off and you got all the windows from the same place, they'll probably just overlook it. But if none of your windows have stickers, they're going to be pissed. And that also requires that you leave it on the window until the inspector signs off on it. You know, you want to take them off because they're going to come off and it looks nicer without them. But you really have to wait till the law comes and signs it off. This, everybody got 100 feet for every square foot, unless the openings are staggered, and then you can double that. You can, oh no, it should be 150, but that's close enough. You got 300, so. This one, some people weren't sure of, but it's true. The E-coating on the windows reduces visible light. That's the payoff. So if it didn't, then you could put, a lot more on and even reduce the heat from going both ways. But there's a balance. It's pretty hard to tell a light's windows tinted unless it's next to an untinted one with the degree of coating they have now. So it's a balance. If you get it, maybe in places, Montana, they may have coatings that make the windows a little darker because they're really trying to conserve that energy, but most of the time it's a balance. Low-E coatings reduce heat loss from inside. That was their main use originally to do, so that's true. Mulch. Some of you guys had good answers. I even gave an extra point for one answer that was so comprehensive, but water is a big thing, retaining water. And then I thought, but you have to have water there to do it. So, but usually people are watering unless you have native plants that live on dew, and even dew will collect in the mulch. So I think most times it does it does preserve that water, but there's a lot of other things too, but you just had to give one of the answers. I don't think it feeds the plants that much. It does feed, because anything will feed it, and mulch, of course, it's got, if it's organic matter, it's got bugs in it, which is good. Lewis?
Yeah.
So what are the main reasons for mulching?
It prevents soil compaction, maintains soil temperature through insulating, increases soil
temperature, that's a good one.
nutrition.
So it adds some nutrition?
Yeah, as it breaks down, it provides nutrients. And it improves the structure, keeps weeds down, retains moisture.
Yeah, okay.
Helps reduce erosion.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one too. Okay. So why is it important not to have the soil compacted around a plant?
Squeeze the roots.
Well, yeah, it feeds the roots. Is that what you said?
No, I said squeeze, as in like it doesn't allow the roots to spread.
Yeah, but usually the mulch is on top of the soil and the roots are already underneath. Isn't that right, Lewis?
If the soil's really compact, it makes it hard for the water to penetrate down. So like here in town, we've got primarily clay, Santa Barbara clay soils.
Right.
And it's really hard for the water to move through it. But if you have those pore spaces in the soil and you have like a nice loose fluffy kind of loam texture, then the
Yeah.
water will flow a lot easier into the
Yeah.
soil.
Okay.
It'll percolate through.
Okay. And also more bugs can live in air and, loose stuff too. All right. Well, 39 rain screen. So you could have used this to go back to the other one if you weren't sure what the preferred drainage plane was. But anyway, in a rain screen, behind horizontal siding, why are furring strips used between siding and wall? And now it's just so you have a gap in there's two reasons for allowing water to drain. Why does water need a gap to drain? What's wrong with a little 16th inch gap that's probably already there if you nail siding right onto the Tyvek?
Well, if it can't go around the wood, it's going to go through the wood.
Yeah, and it can't go around because of capillary action. And there's another thing too, I forget what it's called. You guys may know it. There's a surface tension and water won't flow. It'll kind of grab both sides and just sort of stay where it is. Right? Anybody know what that's called? You know what I mean? It needs you have to have a certain weight of water for gravity to pull it down. And if it's too thin, you won't have that weight and it'll kind of form a bridge between the two materials and just sort of stay there and not move. Surface tension, we'll call it. That whole thing is really complicated physically. I looked it up once and I decided not to ever talk about it again. So, so it needs a little space to let the water drain. And then of course also, which most of you put it vents dries the wall. That's really important too. And then the building green. So the checklist is a checklist of sustainability items, many of which we now call building performance because they help the building perform better. So technically anything that helps the building perform better, even stuff in the yard that keeps water away or whatever, will be on the checklist and could be considered building performance. So the checklist is kind of a way that building performance is used in the community, and if they're trying to, that guarantees that they're using it with that point system and third-party verification. Okay, you bums, what do you think? Any questions about the test? Hey, Zach, are you ever going to get up that wall?
Oh yeah. So confused what you meant by that.
Are you climbing that wall or just leaning against it?
That rock, or it's sand. It's about 6 feet tall, same height as I am. So I guess climbing is an odd term.
Yeah, I got you. Pedaling, maybe. Okay, well, no questions. So sign up. I know occasionally you guys have reasons for signing up at the last minute. There are some financial reasons sometimes to do it. But if all things being equal, if that's not the case, go ahead and sign up. Don't screw up like Dylan did. So no, it wasn't Dylan's fault. It was the school's fault. But I like to blame Dylan because it keeps him on his toes. I don't want Dylan to end up like the sheep in the background, so we got to keep him on his toes all the time. Now, goats are always on their toes. Have you ever noticed that? They jump up on rocks and on people, and they're always on their toes. Sheep, I don't know. You got to love sheep just because they're animals. You know that?
Yeah.
Right? Anybody ever seen the ads, the polar bear ads, Save the Polar Bears on television?
Sure. Yeah.
And they have the one mama bear and her two little baby bears.
I think
We've been, the polar bear has been so bad-mouthed over the years because they are killers. If you get on the wrong side, which is probably just being in their vicinity because they're hungry like everybody else, you know, they just make mincemeat of you. So if they've got this reputation, it's not their fault. They're just, you know, hunters. But it makes you not think they're cuddly animals. But you look at those polar bear cubs, and they're just like little puppies. They're the most beautiful little things. They're prodding the mother to take care of, you know, to take care of them or whatever, and they're messing with each other, you know, like little mammals do. They're really cute. So it's a great ad. So even sheep are that way. You can really love sheep. Oh God. You see why I'm retiring for good pretty soon? You kind of get the picture.
You sound like you're from New Zealand.
I love all animals. If I spent more time with sheep, I wouldn't make so much fun of them. So, no questions, huh? Okay, well, this is the last online class from me anyway, hopefully from anybody, although you never know. If that Omicron turns out to be a really bad one, we'll go back into this stuff.
You're going
They're
in You're going
What's
in
that?
person? You're going to go in person next semester?
Yes,
Great.
we're at
Awesome.
school.
What are you gonna
Tuesday,
do about Michael?
Monday night, and we're going to film it. Dylan's
you're
already
gonna film it for
volunteered to
him?
be cameraman. So we got Monday night live at Wake Center, and then Saturday afternoon live at Saturday afternoon will be Wake Center, and then road trips to green building sites or green building things of interest. So you know, it's real flexible. People work Saturday, so be it, you know, but there are some cool things in this town we can see. My house is actually growing more green since the last class I bought here. I'm getting more solar, and what did I get? I can't remember. I'll show you when you get here. But yeah, so but we'll make trips to different places. Lewis is going to come up with better rain gardens and places around town for me. I go to the same old places, but we got to snazz this. We got to have this really fun this time. And then if there's any kind of, we may end up building some with, you know, the 111 class. If that's not finished and the other classes don't take it on. Is this 111 this time? Or
It's
110?
110 currently.
110, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
next
so
semester.
111 should take it on because it's a continuation. But I told Lewis that if they had a problem and they needed some more work days, we can maybe spare some Saturdays. So we'll see how it goes.
You'll have to talk to Rodney about that.
And why is that?
It's this project's become like his baby.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, it's only if they can't do it. But I don't see if you have a Saturday lab in the morning, I don't see why you can't do it. But say you want to spend the whole day, you get behind. I think you'll have plenty of time to do it. You're almost done. You could piggyback, and we could have a whole day, and you guys, our class would just join your class.
How do you
Stuff
feel
like that.
about Cobb building?
Oh, that's right, Mike, and you brought that up. Maybe we'll do a project with that too.
Yeah, we've got a Cobb building that's like halfway done that needs to be finished,
Okay, that's an idea. So
and a rain tank that needs to be installed.
yeah, okay. So alternative building stuff is all good too. All right. So I'll put your grades in next few days, and then I will see you, those of you who are continuing in January. So have a good Christmas, huh? And go see Dune. Austin, did you see it yet?
No, I didn't, and I think I missed it on HBO Max now too. So
Well, do you get Cox cable by any chance?
no, we're on Comcast up here.
Okay, because Cox is running it on their, cinema selection.
Yeah, I wonder if I can find it somewhere online.
You can
Yeah,
definitely find.
It'll be around, You can always take a trip to LA.
Yeah, I really wanted to see it in theaters. Like that
Yeah.
was sort of why
So
I
it's
held
kind of-
off. And
Yeah, it's probably, it might be playing in an LA theater because
yeah,
it's such a big town. They have a lot of stuff. All right, everybody, have a good Christmas.
Thanks,
Yeah?
Patrick. You too.
Thanks, Patrick. You
Okay,
too.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Patrick.
You too.
All right, and we'll see
All right, Patrick.
you next time, hopefully. All right.
Patrick,
How do you-
before signing off, can I ask you for some advice?
Yeah, absolutely. Who said that, Zach?
Zach, yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure.
So the primary reason why I'm taking these classes is more to be an owner builder than a professional contractor.
Sure.
With that in mind, and knowing that with you leaving after next semester, the frequency of green building might be a little more, tenuous. Do you think it'd be better to take 114 or green building with those constraints in mind?
That's a hard one. Okay, so here's the situation. Conceivably, I could teach it again. I don't want to.
Mhm.
But if it was going too long, I would do it. But we're hiring a new teacher in fall, a full-time teacher. And the guy, I don't think he came to this class, so you don't know him, but the guy I would like to see fill that position is going to apply. And I'm on the committee, and unless somebody else shows up that's even better, which it's hard to find really good people that can teach and are in the industry also. So minimally it'd be this guy, and this guy's very green building oriented. That's one of the reasons I really like him. So if he came, then the class would get right on, all the classes would get more on schedule. And that would be a great class. Jim and Rodney could do it too. They know enough about green building to do it. So I think it'll keep being offered. I would say if Rodney's class had enough students, I would say, and you had to choose, I would say take the green building just to be on the safe side. But his class has not got a lot of students, and I would hate to see you, because if he doesn't offer it, then you'll have to take that as, in the future too, and that'll get in the way of other classes. Yeah.
Zach, you should just drop 111 and take 114 and 122.
Why drop 111? I would think that's probably the most paramount.
No, because 111 is offered every year.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Every
it's important.
every
Yeah.
spring 111, it's like clockwork, and it always fills for the most part. So I
Well,
would take the other two.
Is 114 not so scheduled?
114 has a problem of actually running.
Yeah,
Oh.
because and the problem was because it was a pandemic thing, and we started offering classes out of schedule. We just asked kids what they needed, or students, because the pandemic just screwed everything up. We couldn't offer as many classes, so we couldn't stay on schedule anyway. And so then we had to, out of desperation, say, okay, what classes do you need, and we'll offer those. And we screwed up the schedule, and the one that suffered the most were 114 and 115. So some kids would take them, and then the next time we wanted to offer them, there were not enough students to take them because they'd already taken them. So those two classes got kind of messed up, and we're just coming out of that. So Lewis has a point. If you know you're going to be around, he's right. If you're trying to get everything done by the end of next fall, they won't offer 111 until spring.
And Zach, I know you're freaked out about the 6 units, but I don't think you need to think of it like that. It's a time commitment, and that's about it.
What do you mean?
Yeah, there won't be much if any homework.
It's not like you're taking a hard science class or like a math or like a programming class. It's just it's 6 units of just like time commitment.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's like this class over
Yeah,
again.
it doesn't feel like a 6-unit class.
Yeah, you
it's
shouldn't.
actually
No,
fun.
because it'll be 3 units, and then the 3 will just be field trips. And if you miss half of those, not a big deal. We'll talk about them.
You should take it with Patrick though, and not gamble and take it with somebody new.
That makes sense.
Well, I
And
don't
then
know.
sign up for Rodney's class so it actually goes, and then James's class, just take that next spring.
His Rodney said if
You
he's-
could also sign up for all 3, and you have a week to drop them, I think, right? A week.
The
Before the
class with the
deadline.
most workload, is going to be James's.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
so the first week you hear the syllabus, hear what they're going to do, and you can drop one at that point if it seems onerous. But I think Lewis is right. Mine won't add that much load. So, but if if Rodney's flew without you in terms of numbers and you
Mhm.
only wanted to take the two, I would take mine.
Okay.
You know, just because, but
The
Um,
thing is, if Rodney's goes this semester and you're not
Yeah.
in it, you're gonna have to wait a long
that's,
time.
that's
to
true
get in it.
too. That's
Oh,
true
that's
too.
fair.
You're gonna be waiting like probably over a year.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if you could only take two and Rodney's was flying, then I think Lewis is right. Drop the 111, take that.
Mhm.
Because that one's 110 and 111 are the two most dependable.
If Rodney's doesn't go, just jump right back into 111. James will let you in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so you can kind of wing it until the first week.
And if Rodney's like if 114 or 115 doesn't go and you have all the other classes done, they'll waive it for you to get the degree too, or the certificate.
That's
if you're
Oh,
just
really?
short, if you're just short
Yeah.
one class.
Yeah, that's true too. Because if it's because of our scheduling and COVID, and I mean, COVID comes back and all that kind of crap, and you've been here long enough, we will waive things.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
I mean, my primary motivation isn't for the degree or the certificate rather.
right.
I already have a BS, so it's more just about personal knowledge.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's good to know.
yeah. Okay.
I think I'll probably, hearing what Lewis said about the time commitment, I think I might just sign up for 3 and, as you said, feel it out in the first week.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you all. I appreciate all of your insight.
Oh, sure. You got all of our expertise on it. It's great.
Yeah, I welcome that. With I studied CS at UCSB, and I definitely didn't feel this like as comfortable talking to my peers and professors as
Yeah.
doing
You went
CT
to
here.
UCSB for your other work?
Yeah.
Yeah. I graduated from there too. My advanced, my graduate work.
Mhm.
And I know what you mean. The classes are too big, and there is, I don't know did you take any class in the writing program at UCSB?
Yeah, I actually have a minor in it.
Did you have Austin's dad for a teacher?
Wait, what's
My dad's Doug Bradley.
no, I did not have Doug Bradley.
Oh,
He,
you missed out.
I forget, does he teach he's one of the heads for one of them, right?
Yeah, he's mainly in the engineering college. So I don't know if computer science
Yeah, it is.
folds over into that, but he does a lot of technical writing.
Yeah.
I don't 109 SE I think is his main, or 150.
I forget, does he teach science communication? I swear
his
I've
website-
communicated with him
I
before.
don't know, but
So, but
don't-
anyway,
That's-
but Zach, weren't those teachers a little more approachable?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the writing program.
Yeah, see, I used to teach in that too.
Mhm.
That's why I mentioned it, because they are, that's a great program for that reason.
I agree completely. Huh.
Yeah, but I was
Cool.
there in religious studies, and I know philosophy and some of those other social sciences or humanities, whatever they want to call them, can get pretty removed in terms of the
Yeah,
kids being able to interact with the professors.
100%.
I had a guy when I first went to college. I went to USC architecture school, and because it was the only architecture school in California besides Berkeley, and Berkeley was engineering oriented, and USC was Beaux-Arts oriented, and I wanted the art side. I didn't want the engineering. So I went there, and my first year I had a philosophy class, and I had a professor that had office hours. He said, "Come on in and talk about this stuff." And philosophy blew me away. I didn't know all that stuff existed. And I would spend hours with this guy and teach, talking in his office about all this stuff. And that had made me drop architecture and go into philosophy and religious studies as a result. So it really is nice when you can talk to teachers, and it's just a great thing.
hmm It's funny how often single people have such a profound influence on our life.
Yeah, I know. And I write books, and I wrote a book and I dedicated it to him. And then I found out he died the year before. I was really upset.
Aw.
Yeah, I had trouble tracking him down. He'd moved to LA State.
Mhm.
But yeah, he was really inspiring. He'd been a monk, and then he came out, and decided to become a professor, and he was just really an interesting guy. Yeah. Yeah.
So when's the next book coming out, Patrick?
Oh, I keep cranking them out. There's one called Can Humans Change? I think that came out after you. Yeah, I know. And it's got a picture on the cover of my
Man.
niece's daughter. I have no shame for getting covers.
Did she change on you?
She's in the process of changing, but that's what little kids do, you know. So I'm working on one on truth now, which is so arrogant of me, but I just don't have any pride anymore. But
Yeah, that's an important topic these days.
yeah, it is, and
one that increasingly doesn't seem to really always be the case.
I know, and I'm trying to show how it's kind of the bedrock of civilization and everything we do, you know. But it's tough though, because I've got to research. I'm doing a history of modern science as part of it, a brief history. So the research has been, oh God, just awful. A long time. I mean, I love it, but it's just taken a long time.
Where do you consider modern science to start?
Like from Galileo and Bacon. But yeah, but I'm talking about the context of it. So that goes back to Greek times, you know, and medieval times, and, you know, talking about the kind of reason they think they're using reason, but it's just horrible, horrible thinking. And yeah. And then I do want a section on history, because we don't take history seriously as a civilization either. And you know, it's an important aspect of truth, you know. I was going to do policy, which is huge, but just to say the third part was going to be policy, just to show how we need to really take it seriously. And then I decided to switch to education, which I've already written about a lot, but it's so important how we can, you know, get, and and then I'm always talking about bioregional stuff too. Like you saw that, what democracy must mean, right? So that that was bioregional. So you know, I think when you look at the way that people are today in the country, like the people that are anti-vaccine and just ignorant about a lot of things, any kind of science or the Constitution, you know, right? We got a lot of those people now. We've always had them, but now we know. And education is really at fault there, you know? I mean, because we've got all those people. I mean, we've even got required schooling. So all those people are there, and we should have been able to pry them away from their family traditions just enough to realize that there's other points of view, right? And you can go back, you can keep what your family does. That's great. But you should be aware of what's going on in the world as alternatives. And we haven't done that because people get through it and don't know anything. And so I don't know, you know, a lot of people are thinking about what that, you know, how we're failing, and it's not easy, because although how many people if I talk to people in this class and ask them if they liked elementary school and junior high and high school, you know, intellectually, I mean, a lot of times we like our friends and goofing around, but I know I didn't care for any of that school. I thought a lot of it was a waste of time and I could have done better. So there's something wrong if people don't like the way math's taught or science is taught or history's taught, you know?
Yeah, you just keep wanting to, you want to get out of it, or, you know, yeah, they're all transitory, which right. I don't know. I mean, it's normal part of growing up. Yeah, going through elementary school to high school to, it's all in pursuit of getting to college.
Right.
You know, I think.
Well, that's it, right? That's it.
But even college now is just so, you know, yeah. There's your pigeonhole.
Yeah. And that's what college used to be, a place where you could finally move out from home and go live somewhere, right? Free. So then you just surround yourself with new ideas, your roommates, your classmates, books, professors, and give yourself some perspective. You know, it's a great system that far. Zach, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to narrow in on Austin's use of normal in normal part of growing up, like it's interesting that it is normal, that we were so pigeonholed, and perhaps that normality is the problem. That's that to respond to something you said, Patrick, about how we have the systems to educate people and it just doesn't seem to happen.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if we actually do, because it in a lot of places it seems like we don't necessarily have the infrastructure to, educate. And if we don't in some places, why? Is it perhaps a concerted effort?
Yeah. I just heard somebody that was looking into education, and it was just a recent book. I don't know where I saw it. Maybe I was reading it online, and they were just trying to make the curriculum more relevant, but it's much more than the curriculum. It's if it's not taught right, and kids, young of any species, are such delicate things. You've really got to be careful what you do to them. You can't just throw ideas at them when they're too young, or it's not a good thing, or test them on them and not really let them get familiar with them. And it's a really deep thing. And I mean, I've written books on it, and I've taught in different venues all my life, so I think about it constantly. And there's just a lot of things I don't think we've done well. Schools shouldn't be prison-like at all. They should be enjoyable places, and a few are, but most of them are not that fun to go to. And so people kind of shut off just from an animal point of view. They don't like being in that atmosphere. So right away, it's working against us. I worked at the Oak Grove School in Ojai. Krishnamurti, the philosopher, founded it. And it was a great school because there was no bullying. It was in a beautiful location with oak groves and flowers and country all around. And the teachers could create their own curriculum. And we had a few administrators that would kind of oversee that, but the freedom and the fun, and we did all kinds of exciting field trips. And we even in the winter, over 1 month in January, we did totally non-school projects with the kids. And I mean, I would have done more. I wanted to do even more. Most of the ideas were all mine. I wanted to do more, but they put a line at one point. But right now we have schools around the world where they just take kids and put them in nature. And they don't even teach them anything. They just get them out and make sure they're secure. Sweden, Scandinavia, everywhere, Europe. And they just get them to hang out in nature. They don't want to tell them about nature. They just want them to be in it. And then later on, they'll start talking about, the environment and ecology and science when they can stand hearing about that. But that stuff's pretty heavy duty, and you don't want to get little kids involved in that. They're not going to really respond to that. But if you get them the feel of it, we need to have a feel of things before we really unload the intellectual component. So, there's a lot of things you could do, a lot of really interesting schools we could make. And, we owe it to kids. This is something, I've been in education since the 70s. And the one thing I really have always felt strongly is that, kids are not little adults. They're their own species. They're their own thing. They're not just miniature adults. And you have to treat them appropriate to where they are, how their brain functions, how their bodies function. And you have to give them freedom. They need as much freedom as we can guarantee their security and safety, because we shouldn't have to have so much control over them. They're autonomous individuals, and we kind of lord it over kids, and we determine their futures, and God, back in the Enlightenment, Rousseau was just so upset with all that. I mean, he was one of the first guys who said, this is all wrong. This is, they don't have the freedom they need. So anyway.
I mean, there's some interesting talks going on right now after the whole kid, shooting in Michigan or whatever, and that he's 15 and they're trying him as an adult and giving him a terrorism charge. And I think the behavior of the parents is its own horrible, bizarre thing, but they've
'Cause
had all
they-
these
They
people.
bought him the guns, right?
Yeah. and
Yeah, it
that-
was a present.
Well,
That's insane.
Yeah,
Well,
it was
even-
a Black Friday sale or whatever.
even
Yeah.
worse is that they seem to encourage the behavior.
Yeah.
Or the whole don't get caught thing where he was looking up buying ammo in class on his phone. But
Well-
the point I just wanted to make is that, the trying him as an adult aspect, as though, I don't know, does that even really remedy his situation in life, let alone any other kid who would consider doing something like that? That you're right, that well, I don't know. I guess I don't really know what I'm trying to say with regard to, like, yeah, I guess if he's going to be considered an adult, he's got to be considered a very disturbed adult or something
Yeah.
like that. But, I think it's much more sense to approach him as a very disturbed kid.
Yeah.
And I think where you're kind of leading towards is he didn't have a good upbringing. He wasn't taught, proper, from the start. So to try him as an adult is kind of unfair.
Exactly. It's
have the
already,
moral or
you
the
had your
ethics.
chance and you blew
Yeah.
it.
But it's true even of adults, right? They've been conditioned in those bad ways. And I always thought, no one's really totally responsible for what they do. So I've always thought we do need to isolate people that are harming society. We need to get them away from being able to harm. But I don't think we should punish them particularly in any cruel way, because they're victims of their upbringing, just like the kids are, and all of us.
100%.
Man, most people don't want to go that far. They go, no, but they got to be responsible. I said, yeah, who is responsible when they're set on their whole young life and they're made to learn those things, many of which are violent and crazy, from their community and parents,
Yeah, they need therapy and reprogramming and education.
Yeah.
Yeah, individual problems or what's ultimately infrastructural and social problems are ultimately just put down as individual when they're not, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what the sociologists and stuff have been saying, is that trying him
Right.
as an adult, you, at very best, you're giving some sort of a solution to his one, this one individual instance, but you're not really like changing society for the better.
Yeah.
You're not really improving. You're not mitigating this or stopping it from happening again.
They should just outlaw guns like Australia.
Well, they should, but
That's what they should do.
yeah, it was easier in Australia and New Zealand and
Just get rid of
Japan.
them. Like
Yeah.
they're not. It's just causing problem after problem.
Yeah. Well, we got all these crazies. I mean, now we're aware of how, we've always known we've been a little bit crazy. Every country's a little bit crazy, but now we realize ours is a lot more than we thought. I don't know what we could do to change the people that are acting out now and are whatever horror they're coming from. So, I've given up on that, just kind of contain them and radically change the education, because we've got to get to people when they're younger. And, it's a problem, because in the 70s, when they had the educational revolution of that time, they said, well, kids need to be free. You have no right to tell them anything. And, that struck me for a long time. And I thought, God, is that right? Because that's so radical. And at first I thought it was right. And now I realize that we're not individuals. We're a community. We're social animals. And we need to learn the ways of the community as well as being individuals. We're not just free to go outside the community or to abuse the community. It's our tribe, our pack. And so now I think they should have as much freedom, but we should also try to find a time when we can civilize them to our community standards and worlds. And I think those standards are too narrow. They need to be global standards and bioregional standards. And I think it's going to take some requirement, but maybe just a few years out of all those years to do that, If we were in a good way, then we could have freedom. We could just eliminate schools and let people go where they wanted, and maybe schools too, but we're not in a good way. We're fucked up. So, we need we have to redo some things. So.
Yep.
And
That's
then the
interesting.
last one I'm going to write, I always say that. So when I finish this, I'm going to write one on the what am I naming it? The fantasy of consciousness, something like that. The human echo, the false view of human consciousness.
Do you publish these books, or are they just kind of stored away?
No, they're
somewhere?
on. They're all on Amazon. Amazon's publishing them. They're on the Amazon website.
Okay, under your name or a pseudonym?
Yeah,
or-
under Patrick M. Foster. And the great thing about Amazon is they have that look into function, so you can read, in my case, half the book. It's great. The older books sometimes are classics. They'll just give you the first 5 pages, but when you're new and unknown and stupid like me, they'll let you read most of the book. So it's really great.
It's pretty generous of you for half the book.
I don't do it. That's the way,
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe if I sell a lot more and then they'll tighten it
Yeah,
up.
Lewis,
but-
I put it in chat.
Yeah. But so you can look at those without, feeling you have to get them or anything. But if you're interested in the stuff we've been talking about, what's your Zach, what's your field that you did in your undergraduate work?
Computer science.
Computer science. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a field that needs a lot of depth.
Stupidly competitive these days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it is. I was very lucky. I got a job. I accepted an offer in finals week of spring quarter in town right before summer started. So I thought I was screwed, but came in at the last minute.
Wow, great. Are you from here, Zach?
Riverside,
Oh, Riverside.
which is where I am now because I couldn't find an
Oh.
apartment.
Okay, yeah. Well, I grew up in West LA, and Lewis is from Idaho, and Austin's from New York.
Idaho.
Yep.
I don't know
You know
where
us
you
too
got
well,
Idaho
Patrick.
Wait, where are you from?
from.
Lewis
was-
is local.
I'm from all over the place. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, lived there for 10 years, then upstate New York for 5, then Sydney, Australia for 3,
Yeah, it was
Boulder,
close.
Colorado, Newport Beach for 3 years, and then I've been up here the last 12,
Yeah, wow.
all over
Are
the
your
place.
are your parents in the military, or are you just a rambler?
No, Dad worked for Emerson Electric for like 35 years, so they would move him around.
They would move
to
him around?
manage different subsidiary companies. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the market's getting better right now, Zach. If you're still having trouble finding stuff, I'd be kind of surprised. It looks like there's stuff out there all over right now.
What are you looking on in particular?
I just browsed like a week ago on Craigslist. It looks like there's a lot of stuff.
Right on. I'll have to I go on Craigslist and I filter by posted within the last 24 hours. And I haven't really been happy. A lot of things have been scams or absolute crap for too much.
Hmm.
But I think I'll probably have to go through the mass list.
What's your budget?
Strictly speaking, it's 2,000, but I don't want to spend that much
For a bedroom or for an apartment?
for an apartment.
How much would
And-
you spend? How much would you rent a bedroom for?
Probably closer to 12 or so.
Okay.
And it depends. Like I'm willing to live over an IV or Goleta. I don't need to be in downtown where it's I know going to be way more expensive.
You'd be surprised, actually.
Well, not necessarily. Yeah. I agree.
Downtown's actually cheaper than Goleta right now.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And there's so many areas in downtown. Some are expensive. You're right.
Mhm.
But many are not,
You're gonna have trouble finding a bedroom for 1,200 though.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, I mean,
Par-
yeah, you're looking at least 15 right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was just based off of IV and subleases I've been seeing.
Yeah, IV is like 15 to 2,000 for. I think the subleases are cheaper because the people just want to get something for their empty room.
That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't been seeing those for IV places. I'm kind of just waiting for housing season to come across in the next couple months when I know I can sign a June lease.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the housing companies I don't think they're going to be able to gouge as much as some of the Craigslist posts seem to.
You always live in Carp.
That's fair, but I don't drive, so
You know, Zach, I have
Yeah.
a friend. You guys, any of you guys know Carol?
Yeah, I know Carol.
Yeah, both of you do. But
She
Carol's a
rents
friend.
rooms, doesn't she?
Carol's a friend of mine that, well, she's teaching at school a little bit, but she runs a reuse business, but she rents rooms in her house. And she's always looking for people. So
Where does she-
she lives on near San Marcos High, so not far from school actually.
oh, that's right next to Wake, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah, it's
I
not
would,
far.
okay, cool.
So I'll send you her information and you can check it out.
Sweet. Thank you.
And just remember that, you can get a place, and if they don't make you lease for forever, it could be just a trial place, to keep looking around, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm scared of, is getting into a 12-month lease at a place that I don't really like for too much.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll send you her contact information and you can talk to her.
Cool. Thank you.
She has graduate students and people from all over the world. She caters a lot to UCSB because they're really under housed there. So yeah.
Zach, why don't you drive?
Long story. It's more like a work in progress.
DUI?
No. I've never driven.
Oh, okay. You never wanted to get your license? Or?
Well, no, it was partially just because in my family, a used car was a graduation gift from high school. And so I was the youngest of four, and
There weren't any used cars left.
well, basically it started the distance between each brother, there's four of us, started getting closer and closer. And so since I was the first one to go straight to a 4-year, I didn't really think that I needed a license or a car. And so consequently I just shrugged it off and said I would do it in or after college.
Yeah.
And now it's after college. So
So you're working on it.
It's time
Yeah,
to
exactly.
do it now, huh?
yeah. Especially
Yeah,
because I'm at home, because I'll have, I'm with my family, so I'll have more opportunity to practice. So I need
Sure.
to study and schedule a permit test.
Yeah.
Do you even need your permit at this point, or you can
I
just go
believe in-
straight to the license?
No, as I understand, in California, you have to, even if you're over 18. You don't. There is a distinction between being under 18 and over 18 regarding the permit, but I believe in this state you do have to still get a permit.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Fun. Practice your parallel parking and looking over your shoulder.
I'm sure you'll do fine.
Don't forget to look over your shoulder a lot.
Why do you say that?
They'll ding you on it on the test.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Perhaps I should just be turned around during my driving test.
You should take lessons from somebody. It helps a lot.
Yeah, or talk to people who have recently taken their test, or any student friends that have done it, because that's like great advice. What Lewis just said. They do. If you don't use your blinker or hand signals, and if you don't look in your mirror, all the time, especially when you start, pull away from the curb. That's stuff they really get crazy about.
And you have to be able to parallel park on your first try. And yeah, don't feel bad if you don't pass it your first time either.
Good to know.
A lot of people don't. In Australia, I learned how to drive in Australia. I failed the test 3 times before I passed.
Oh, wow.
In Australia or here?
In Australia, they're more
Oh,
strict
yeah.
down there. And they have
Yeah.
a series of permits. You get
Yeah, you
like
get
3
your
different
Ps,
permits
right?
before you get your full license.
Wow.
Yeah, you get your red Ps first, then you get your green Ps, then you don't get your full license till you're 21.
Wow.
I would talk to a doctor if you've got red P.
Which is the way to do it.
It is the right way. Japan does the same thing. They have a real slow kind of layered thing. I think it's great, actually.
Yeah, hey Zach, don't tell anybody about my red Ps, okay? I never got past my red Ps because I left there when I was 18. Forever
That's funny.
stuck with the red Ps.
Uh,
But if you go down there and you have your full license from America, then it doesn't matter. You have
Yeah.
technically a full
Transfers.
license.
Didn't
Right.
it like mess with your brain at all a bit? That
Huh?
Oh, learning how to drive on the left
yeah,
side
you,
and how to
you
drive
have
on
to
the
like
right side.
relearn.
You know, honestly, it made me a better driver over here.
Yeah.
Learning how to drive on the left side, and the lanes are not as wide as here too.
Yeah.
So that also helped, and like parallel parking, and you have to do a certain number of hours before you get your permit. Oh, you have your L's first for like a year, and you have to do like 100
Wow.
hours or something and practicing it all. So yeah, I think it made me a better driver. I think I failed my first driving test in California too, and had to retake it down in Newport Beach because it was so busy in the area where I took it. So that's why I say like look over your shoulder, because every time you change lanes or every time you do anything, the guy's gonna be, or guy or girl's gonna be looking to make
Yeah.
sure you look over your shoulder.
And if you're up here, take it in Goleta.
Why is that?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
Oh,
ahead.
because there's no
Goleta.
traffic. It's
Oh,
a smaller place.
I did
If
mine
you-
in Lompoc, I think, and that was very
Yeah.
laid back.
If you do a driving school like just 1 or 2 times too, and they'll tell you all the tricks, and sometimes the guys know the route that the testers take too,
mhm.
Yeah.
and they'll take you through it, which is really helpful.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, I wonder if you do something like that, if you learn all the answers beforehand, if you're preparing yourself in the same way.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that the
point,
motorcycle
yeah.
test through the DMVs is like next to impossible. So there's a loophole to get around it. You take the California Motorcycle Safety Program, and you go in there with your learners or your permit, and then you take their test, which is easier than the DMVs, and then you take that to the DMV and you get your full license. Because the DMV's test, they have a square outside the DMV, and you have to do figure eights within the square without putting your foot down or without like, crashing or whatever. And it's next to impossible unless you have like a dual sport motorcycle, or you're like a stunt rider or something. But Patrick, you've written a lot of books, man. There's like 10 books up here at least.
Yeah.
There's 11 books up here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
I've got to stop though.
Is your wife giving you
Just
like
one
an
more.
ultimatum? She's
No,
like, look,
my
you have to
wife's
stop
pretty cool, but-
writing. You have to stop teaching.
Yeah, because I got to retire and sort of kick back a little.
That means
You
retiring.
know,
from
right? You
writing.
know, I used to paint a lot, right? I was an artist for a long time, and that's a really dear side to me. And when I write, I just don't do anything else. I'm just conceptual, And I've been conceptual for too long now. It's been like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years I've been writing. So I need to go back and do something perceptual, holistic.
You're gonna stop building, stop teaching, stop writing, and what are you gonna do? Just
Paint.
Yeah, paint,
paint.
walk around town.
You could ride
up in
bicycles
the
like
hills.
Rodney does.
Who knows? But you got to plan your retirement carefully because it's your last years, You can't be stupid about it. Okay, guys, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you
got to
all.
go eat some dinner. But yeah, so Zach's all straightened out with his classes. At least he has some
Just take all 3, Zach.
ideas. Yeah.
We'll get through it together. I'll be signed up for all 3.
Sweet.
And Austin, you've taken the green building? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you gonna try and do the same? I know you mentioned that Lewis is gonna try and provide you with some new field trip stuff. But like, are you gonna try and go to the guy at the trout club again?
Why? Are you interested?
Yeah, I think I definitely missed that trip when I took
Okay,
it
let's,
a couple years ago.
Well, I'll just keep in touch with you and tell you what we're going to do.
Okay.
Okay, and then you
Yeah,
can
even
join.
if you just want to send me the syllabus or
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay. And then, well, they're not always accurate. But I'll send you that and then I'll
Right,
tell you
right.
the changes and you can I don't, that's great if you want to come, that's cool.
That was the first class I took in the department, and I really liked it. So yeah,
Well, it's
If
gotten
it's your
more
last time
urgent.
teaching it too.
I know, things have just gotten worse in the world. I've been reading some great stuff. There's a entrepreneur, I forget what he's famous for, but he wrote a book he laid out exactly the steps we have to do to make the goals we're trying to go. Because we just have these goals and then they're so nebulous that nobody does them. And so finally some guy said, well, okay, we have to look at it this way. And because he's a business guy, he's kind of used to making goals like that. And it's actually pretty good. I thought, oh God, here's another stupid ass book, but it's actually really good. And so, the context of green building will change. Green buildings, well, it's got some new stuff too. All the heat pump technology and electrification, we're going that way. So we're being sucked up into the larger green picture, and it's good, but it makes some changes. A lot of it we did in this class, but it'll be more general and we'll look into alternate building a little bit more because that's more appropriate. So,
Hey, Patrick, can I ask you a question real quick before you go?
yeah.
Do you have any idea when framing or blueprint reading are going to be offered?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No. I mean, I might know next semester. I mean, next semester we have to start thinking about summer and fall, and we'll have to we have to do it together. So that's why I can't answer it. And we have to take stock of what's been, what people need and what's been offered last. It's going to be, when we get a full-time teacher, it'll clear up some things, but it still depends on how many people come into the program, whether we can offer all the classes we want all the time. So, we don't know any of that yet. So, but I think if we have a full-time teacher, it'll be, a chair. We'll be able to organize better. It's just too much for an adjunct. The school is really protective of adjuncts. They don't want them to do more than they're paid for. And, teachers will always do more than they're paid for. That's kind of who they are. So it's kind of nice that they draw a line and say, no, you shouldn't have to do this. Don't do that stuff, But we don't have a chair. So we're kind of we've got a temporary chair, and Mike's been really great at doing a lot of that stuff. But it's hard for a department without an in-house chair to organize properly. So we'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think he's looking forward to it too.
He's done a great job. He's been really great, and my dean stopped talking to me and just let me go through Mike, which has been great because Mike and I are old friends, and Mike's a real straightforward guy. And so it's perfect. I mean, he's a lot like me. So and then the dean actually said, he sent a letter out to all the people on the committee and say, oh yeah, they let Patrick in on the committee. Oh, well, it's all gone to hell now. Because he always kids me like that. He used to, and then we stopped talking. So I'm going to write him back and say, yeah. So it's great. They must have realized that nobody on the committee had a background in building. And it's kind of hard to hire a construction teacher when you have no idea what that's about. They probably said, oh yeah, we need a content person in here. Oh well. So that's great. Voting or not voting, I'll give them my input. So it's got to go out to the public, right? If I had my way, I'd just hire this guy because, he's good and I don't want to waste time and fool around, but it's not the process. So maybe there'll be some interesting people maybe COVID's changed things and a lot of people may want to teach now. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess you'll find out.
We'll find out.
It's kind of hard because the salary is like right at what a good contractor would make.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
I'll tell you, well, it depends on who you are, but teaching is a lot less stressful. Because I've had to do contracting the last couple of weeks with my house and Yukari's, and oh man, and those are just dinky little projects. Whew.
I think you have to have the personality for it.
Yeah.
Some people thrive on that.
Yeah, Rodney and Jim thrive on it.
Certain people.
I did it, when I was in the field and had businesses and stuff. I did it, but I never liked much beside the carpentry and the interior design. That was what I really liked the most. So I love guys like my colleagues. They're great. Yeah, and teaching's stressful for a lot of people too. So you got to figure out who you are.
It's just a lot of work. It's a lot more work than anybody thinks.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like the stress of having to talk in front of a group. A lot of
I think-
people don't like doing that.
Once you start doing it, that's not the big deal. I think the biggest deal is just the amount of work outside, like before class, and then like planning what you're gonna do after class, all the grading.
But there's
a lot of
once you do
hours.
that for a couple 3 years, then it's a lot easier. Then it's just a matter of substituting.
Yeah, I think if
information.
you're on salary, if you're an adjunct though, it's a little bit
Yeah,
because there's a lot
Yeah.
you're not getting paid for.
yeah, exactly. So they really tell adjuncts, don't do more than you need to. There's a contract of hours outside of class. It's not that bad, but yeah,
What is that called? Flex hours or something?
yeah. Is that who?
Yeah, he barks when people come to the door. My
Yeah.
brother just had somebody over, I think.
I thought he was needing attention.
No, we went for a walk earlier. Got slammed with this OChem exam and then needed to go for a
Oh,
walk to unwind.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
rough.
good call. All right, you guys, let me go eat.
Okay. Take
All right,
care.
Talking to you.
Patrick.
And
Have a good one.
and Austin, we can talk next semester too. We'll figure out a way to communicate. Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
it'd be fun.
Austin, you should just audit the class, man.
Well,
I could. I mean-
they don't have audits, unfortunately.
Oh,
You could
I mean,
maybe come because it's not a class where you could get hurt because it's just information. That's what they worry about. If you're not enrolled and you get hurt, then our insurance says, "Hey, we're out of there." And everybody then the school
building.
pays for it, and we get in trouble. But I don't mind people auditing if it's a non-danger class.
You're not
So-
gonna let him cob build? Play with some mud and straw?
Possibly, I take chances there too.
Oh,
Some
man.
construction things are not as bad as dangerous as others, right?
Yeah, you gotta let him experience the cob building though. It's so fun.
I don't
We
think
did,
we did this. What is that?
Oh,
Mud.
do you know what cob is? It's
No.
it's like Adobe kind of. So
Uh-huh.
it's like a
With-
natural building method where you make bricks out of like clay.
No, you don't even make
and
bricks.
straw.
You just pile it on.
Okay, well you can do it different ways,
Yeah,
Patrick.
yeah.
So the way that they've been doing it for this house, which you'll see, they make the bricks
Oh, okay.
and then
well,
they
that's more like an
stack them.
Adobe.
They
Yeah.
stack the bricks and then they coat over the brick.
Yeah, that's more like
Hmm.
Adobe though. That's what Adobe is too.
Yeah. So it's like a mixture of clay, sand, and straw.
But they did, the Indians in Arizona did cob 1,000 years ago. There was a structure between Phoenix and Tucson. In what's the name of that? It's right along the highway. What's that? There's a community there. And they have a 2-story structure. They put some shade over it so the rain doesn't destroy it. But the Indians piled up mud 2 stories worth. Must have been very.
It's a really
clay-like.
good building material.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really
In
I mean, as long
California?
as you have a foundation and you have a roof to protect it, and you just pile more on every couple of years.
Yeah, but California, because of the
Because of
seismic
earthquake.
codes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you build a frame. You build a wood frame for it.
Yeah.
And you can install windows and doors and everything.
Oh yeah, if you go on the internet, look up Cobb Building. There's some beautiful.
There's
they can
amazing
sculpt it
design.
better, so they do sculpture on the walls, and I mean it's pretty.
Putting bottles in as like windows, like
Yeah.
different colored glass and stuff.
I remember we watched videos of stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
What are they called? The not spaceship houses, but living
Earthship.
Earthship.
ships thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of sometimes they're Cobb built, and sometimes they have the bottles in them. There was you ever been up to Big Sur, you guys?
Yeah.
There's a store called Nepenthe that's up in the north end of Big Sur, or the main part of it, and it sells exotic things like Tibetan statues, and it's a lot of Buddhist and Indian stuff. It used to be, and they had windows It was just a regular redwood building, but they would have glass bottles in the windows, and the light would come in off the ocean through that. It was really beautiful. This was back in the 70s when I used to go up there. A great place. It's become a lot more commercial now, but it's cool.
Is that the place that has gardens on the ocean side and like teaches
Maybe.
massage and stuff? And
It's weird when you Google it, it pops up as a restaurant. On
Yeah, they've got a
Highway.
restaurant there too.
Oh, and then the Hawthorne Gallery.
Is this Nepenthe?
I think so. I think I'm.
Nepenthe?
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like it's a restaurant.
Well, it's always been a restaurant and a store, but the store always had really cool stuff in it. But I haven't been there for 5-10 years, so who knows what it's like now.
Anyway, the windows are cool.
Yeah,
Sounds like it's time for you to do a trip in your retirement, Patrick.
I know. I know. I wanted to go to Big Sur this year, but we keep getting these mutations. But I think next summer, if things have calmed down, I'm going to do some traveling.
Highway 1 is all the way open now too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's not closed anywhere.
I know.
due to
Big Sur is
fires.
such a great trip. It's so close to here. I love it.
Truly.
I used to go
All
up
right.
there when I went to college. I used to go up a lot. Hey, see you guys.
All right, see you,
Yeah.
Patrick. See you next
All right,
semester.
take it easy. Okay.
Bye,
See you guys.
Austin.
Bye bye.